All right. What's going on, everybody? How we doing tonight? I need to put this in a place where it won't roll away. Right there. Where's my rings? Okay. So, nobody cares about this but me. I'm almost done, right? This is the last of the 27,000 black and stainless rings I ordered for the large 30-pound Ringception cube. And if you follow along in any time in the past several months, all of these rings were out of round. I had a giant coffee creamer container filled with them, and I'm almost done re-rounding every one. This is all I have left. That little pile right there. Right? So, I don't know, another hour on that. Finish that up tomorrow. And then I have a plan for these, and it's gonna be cool. So, but recently, I'm gonna grab my preferred pliers here. All right. Okay, so I have piles of rings that I have no plan for, no goal. I ordered them, and then, I was like, oh, what can I make with this? So I'm doing a little bit of housekeeping this week before I start my next big project. And thank you for sharing the stream. Appreciate you. I am going through, excuse me, and trying to, okay, so I have this bag of rings, 12 gauge, half-inch rings, bright aluminum from chain-reaction.ca. I made a patch of 8-in-1, European 8-in-1 with them. And it's kind of cool, but it's not flexible enough to do anything with at all. So I'm just going to probably reweave these into something else. I don't know yet. I have this bag of old black and stainless rings from, what project were these from? Probably my motorcycle vest. These are the leftover rings. And then I have this tub of 18 gauge or 20 gauge 3/16, right? Stainless steel rings. There's a lot of them in there. I gotta find some to make with these. This is a pretty big project, so we'll probably wait on this one. Mike, how you doing? That's a lot of rings to be like, oh, I'll just do a housekeeping project. And then this is a tub of rings. I don't even know what size these are, or where or when I got them from. So we'll figure out something to do with them. And we may not get to all of those. We may only get to a few, right, before I start my next project. My next big project. My next big project is my toolkit for my motorcycle. And I'm going to wrap that in chainmail, and then we're going to do a gas tank bib. So I don't know how any of that's going to work out yet, because the gas tank bib that's a project right there. But I want to get it started now, because the saddlebag project that I did last Christmas, I started it the Christmas break for my kid from school. I didn't finish that until April, so I gotta figure out what I'm going to do to make sure I'm trying to start it early enough so that I get it done by riding season. So hanging out in Denver with the family before we leave for Cancun tomorrow. There you go. Right on. Good time to go to Cancun. I've never been to Mexico. All right. So a friend of mine sent me some photographs of how she made a wrap for a sphere. And I'm going to try and emulate that, which does mean taking some of this apart and reorganizing everything. I'm going to try to go with pentagons first, little 5-sided pentagons, and then if that doesn't work, we'll do hexagons. Trying to wrap this glass marble in Hoodoo Hex. So that's what we're working on tonight. Come and watch me struggle. It's fun. And sometimes I say bad words. I almost said sometimes I swear bad words. That makes sense. So you're going to Cancun for vacation, I'm assuming. That sounds fun. Assuming that's something you got to have a passport for. I don't have a passport, but I may need to get one if I'm ever going to travel to Japan for my brother. He just sent me a video of my nephew competing in a tournament, like a karate tournament or a taekwondo tournament. So, that's cool. What do we got? So, it's like the last time I left the country, I didn't need a passport. F. Sanchez, how you doing? You love chainmail? Me too. I do it way too much. I try not to neglect my family, but it's unavoidable. I'm just kidding. They're very well taken care of. They've got food, shelter, clothing, and love. And I bought them pizza today. It's like I was waiting until I had my first paycheck for my new job. And I got paid on Thursday. I was like, you know what? No one wants to cook over the weekend. Let's order some pizza. And it took like an hour and a half to get here because my son wanted a cheese pizza with pepperoni with cheese stuffed crust. And it was like an inch thick. Sarah, how you doing? Hello, let's go over to TikTok to watch. The stream's better. There you are, and there you are. So, F. Sanchez, what, do you make chainmail? Have you ever made chainmail? Do you want to? Or do you just think it's cool? So, I have been summoned. Some of my power tools and manliness has been summoned. I've got to go help my mother-in-law. After my father-in-law passed away, she bought a new house. And the back deck is falling apart. So I've got to go replace the boards on the back deck. I might scoot down there tomorrow to see what's up. You did in the past? Right on. Very cool, very cool. I too did chainmail in the past. And presently. What happened there? Why isn't that? Lay nicely. That does not want to lay nicely. Did I do it wrong? There we go. You been thinking about starting again? Well, let me tell you. Okay, well, let me ask you this. When you say in the past, how long ago are we talking? Because I started doing this about 28 years ago. And there are a lot more resources available now to get started making chainmail than ever before. Oh, I see where I screwed up. Or hang on. I've never done this before. 8 years ago. I think most of the suppliers that were available then were. I don't think too much has changed in the past 8 years. Maybe in the last 15. So. D. Mailworks no. Trying to think. I think all the current manufacturers that are around now were around 8 years ago. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure I've done this right. 1, 2, 3. Sorry, this is a new weave for me. I think I have to undo this. No, that doesn't make sense. Okay, good to know. Yeah, okay, so in my link tree, the second link is the Mailworks app. It's a web app. It just opens up. You don't have to download anything, and there's like all the resources I would have had 28 years ago. So if you want to check that out to help get you started again, it's like a collection of all the chainmail resources, kind of quasi organized. Okay. I'm going to go this way. 1, 2, 3, and then we'll do 4 and 5. I think that makes more sense. And then I'll remove this later. Thank you for the roses. How you doing tonight? Alright, so yeah, tomorrow I need to go and, well, I need to call my mother-in-law and figure out what is going on. I've seen the deck, but, like, do I need to empty the bed of my truck so that I can go over there and rip up? It's a small deck. You just step off the back of her back door. What is going on with my volume here? Alright, so that needs to be up and this needs to be down. There we go. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. My goal today was to find a leather punch press, to take video of this cube right here, and then I had one other thing I had to do. I don't remember what it was. None of that happened. I did get laundry started. We did have pizza for lunch, and let's see here. Oh, I stained and sealed a leather belt that I have that was kind of old and worn, and I just put some color back into it. I breathed some life back into it. So, that was fun. That was probably my big accomplishment for today. Aside from re-rounding a bunch of these rings in here, which I'm ecstatic to be almost finished with. I've got a cool project for that. I think it'll work out. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 5. These two should connect somehow. And that'll be like the top of the glass marble here. Excuse me. So, now that I have a job... Oh, you know what else I did today? I finally found the spear that I'm going to use to mount the Finnegan's Wake flag to the wall. I've screwed something up, and I don't know what. So, for those of you who don't know, I did this really large inlay earlier this year. I'd been working on it for like 19 years, and finally just knuckled down and got it all done. And it's like all done now. So, I need somewhere to put it. It's a big green inlay. It's got a leather background behind it, and I bought a spear to suspend it from. The only other thing I need are some Celtic themed wall hooks, right? And I've been looking forever to find some. And what ended up happening is that I found nothing out there, right? So I eventually went back to a suggestion someone had given me when I first mentioned that I was looking for Celtic themed wall hooks. And it turns out they're made in like Lithuania or something, which I don't care. The issue is, can you get it to me? And are the hooks going to be big enough to hold a spear, right? So I messaged the seller. I asked them, like, how big is the hook? And they have not gotten back to me yet. But who knows if they will? Who knows? I don't know what language they speak in Lithuania. Okay, this looks like I'm just adding... Does not look like I'm going in... the right direction here. Or maybe, is that how you do it? Nope, because those are opposite each other. Alright, so, alright, yeah. Restained a belt. It looks better now. Sealed it, waxed it. And ordered a spear, which is a huge accomplishment. So, I've been waiting for funds to buy the spear and the wall hooks, and finally have them, so that project is going to be up on the wall finally and out of the way. Did I weave this one wrong? Okay. Well, this is a conundrum. Go in your home. All right. So if I can connect this, I will show you what I'm working on. It almost looks right, but if I do it this way, it's going to be screwed up. All right. I need an adult. What am I trying to wrap? This glass marble here. And this ring size may be too big, and we may have to do a couple different attempts at this. We may give up altogether. Me learning weaves on stream is not... It's never been good for me. I have some horror stories. Well, one, really. I tried to learn Moorish rose on stream, and it went very, very badly. Okay. So... I'm going to have to study this some more before I continue. We're going to do something else. I haven't abandoned hope that I can do this, but I'm not going to sit here and stare at this for 10 minutes while you guys wait for me to figure it out. You know what I mean? Like, that just seems like bad manners on my part. So, we'll do something I know I can do that I wasn't planning on doing until tomorrow, but I need to sit and stare at that for a while before I figure out what I'm doing. So, with that out of the way, we're gonna take this off, right? And we're gonna wrap this in a monkey fist out of these blackened stainless rings. This should go fairly quickly because I don't know if I can get it done tonight, but half the rings or all the rings that need to be closed are already closed. So that's nice. We'll set that in there and we'll make these into chains. You've been editing a video to make dodecahedron Moorish rose and a truncated icosahedron tutorial? Oh, right on. I'll need to... excuse me. I'll need to study those. So, I've been doing this for 28 years, and there's a lot that I know, right? But somewhere in between going to school and raising a kid and working, I slowed down on learning new weaves and whatnot, or experimenting with stuff. Mostly because I had this huge backlog of projects that I didn't know how to tackle. And it was 2 years ago now, 2 or 3 years ago, since I started streaming and getting those projects done. So I'm getting better. And soon I will be able to sit down and buy some tutorials and learn new weaves, and it'll be fun. But there is, okay, so I have a good base, right, for what I've learned. And you know, I've made some cool stuff. I finished some cool stuff, especially in the last 2 years. But it got to the point where, man, I had so many, how do you call it? So many projects laying around that it was taking up way too much space. So, like, I had to stop doing what I was doing, you know, playing around with rings and starting new projects and whatnot. Had to stop doing that to make room. So I couldn't justify putting more money into chainmail without, you know, finishing up some stuff first. So I've got, what have I got? I've got the, as far as big projects go, I've got 2 coifs that I got to work on right here. I've got, these are old projects, right? So 2 coifs, the toolkit, the gas tank bib, right? One of my shirts is going to get refurbished. Make it for, I'm going to widen it because I'm fat, right? What else do I have over there? I just organized everything. So that's like almost all of the old projects that I have laying around. Like I'm really close to finishing all this stuff up, which is cool. But I have started working, and the amount that I'm getting done each day has slowed down, so it's fine. It will all get finished eventually. As long as I keep coming down here and weaving rings together, regardless of how long it takes, there will be finished projects galore. And then I can move on to my bigger project ideas, which I'm looking forward to. The problem with coming up with new ideas, or the problem with seeing people make new weaves or do stuff you haven't tried, is that you want to try it like immediately. You can spend a lot of money accidentally that way, right? So you see someone make something new, like, to use an example, there's a chainmail artist. Her name is Mel Purcell, and she's very good, right? And she makes a lot of really cool stuff. And every time she posts, I'm like, I want to make that. And I say to myself, nope, I can't do that because I have, it's the whole, I want to get rings at McDonald's, you know? No, because we have rings at home kind of deal. All right, I'm going to test fit one of these. Where are we at here? It's definitely not all the way around, but it's close. So we got to make each strand big enough to go around the glass marble and 3 strands of Byzantine, right? And if the glass marble doesn't fit, I have a 1-inch ball bearing that I can reduce the size of these strands to. So this isn't my only spherical option. It's just what I have sitting here at the table. Come on. Okay, that is it'll go around the sphere. Now I need it to go around 1 strand. Actually, we can double that up. So it's going to be 6 strands of Byzantine, 3 on each side, every which way. So we kind of just figuring out what's going to work here. Alright, I need to make this. I can probably add all of these. This is how chainmail works, right? You gotta test fit everything. I can do this. Let's do this. Because you don't know what's going to work until you try it. A lot of times you can map stuff out mathematically. But I'm not good at that. I don't know how to do that. But there are smart people in the chainmail community that do. And they will get very precise in what they're making. It's kind of cool. I don't know how they do it, but they'll get, for example, I want to say the guy's name is Mike. He has a Japanese sphere kit that you can build, and he figured out all the ring sizes you need to make this sphere, and it's solid. So really cool. I'm just not that guy. You know what I mean? What am I doing? It's like I've forgotten how to make Byzantine. Anyway. So, I mentioned that we had pizza earlier today. There is a 10-year-old in my house who ate himself into a stomach ache with how much pizza he ate. It's like he said he could eat the whole pizza, and I just kind of laughed at him. And then he tried to eat several pieces of pizza, and it's like, calm down there, buddy. It's like we need to. You don't need to puke and eat all the pizza. You know what I mean? How about that? Alrighty. This stuff wants to slide all over the place. I'm not even sure if this is going to work, so those are touching. So probably have room for one more. Where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19. If I add three more onto here and then make strands of similar size, we'll be getting somewhere. Let's do that. Now, last night I said that these rings they're newer rings, right? But they are machine cut rings. I said last night that I could set these aside for projects in the future. And then I thought about it and I was like, I don't really want to do that. I want to use up these rings, and I will try and get saw cut blackened stainless or saw cut blackened titanium if I need that in the future, rather than use machine cut rings. Now, for a lot of what I want to do in the future, machine cut would be fine. I would just prefer saw cut rings, because I think it gives it a more professional look. Like my 30-pound cube, that is all machine cut rings, and it's pretty cool. I wish that I would have made everything out of saw cut rings. So it's still a giant chainmail sculpture that'll be up for sale, or that is up for sale. But I like the look of saw cut rings personally. And that piece is so big, no one's gonna notice. Unless you are also a chainmail artist, like no one off the street is going to come in and judge me for having used machine cut rings. Other chainmail artists might. Who is sending me messages? That is my brother. Okay, let's see where we're at here. We have one strand of Byzantine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 23. Oh, come on. I need like 3 hands. That's not going to work. Okay, I'm just going to make more strands of Byzantine. That's all I'm going to do. So, we'll do this, and then, what time is it? 8:30? An hour and a half. I need 9 of these strips, right? So this probably isn't a one evening project. I don't know. We'll see how close I get in the next hour and a half. And then go from there. Like I said, all of these rings in this bin are pre-closed, so weaving this stuff goes pretty quick if I can figure out what I'm doing. It's like I've done this 10 million times. Excuse me. And then this will go, oh, that ring is awful. This will go on the windowsill with the rest of my chainmail projects, right? This is not, I don't know, if someone wants it, they can probably buy it. I don't have any sentimental attachment to it, and it's going to be pretty cool, so. If you want a chainmail monkey fist, if I can pull this off, if I can make this work, then let me know. This is one of those projects where I'm going to post this in the large chainmail group, and someone's going to ask for a tutorial. I'm going to be like, just look at it. Look at it and figure it out. I will give you all the information I can, but I'm not going to make a tutorial video for something this simple, right? Does that make me the bad guy? For every, not every post, but almost every new post especially, right? You will get someone in the comment section asking for a tutorial. And it happens in the group I admin for, it happens in the larger chainmail group. It's just a thing people do. They ask for a tutorial. And some of the stuff is very simple. Right, like I'm making Byzantine. Every beginner chainmail artist should have figured out Byzantine. You always feel like the bad girl that sounds wrong when you post something and someone says that. What tutorial are you using? Yeah. It's like, I don't know. And this is not like whatever weave you use to make a chain, you can turn into a monkey fist. Right? That's the cool thing about it. Just make 9 strands of it and wrap it around a sphere that will turn it into a monkey fist. You just got to wrap it around the right way. I'm using math in my head to just build it. Yeah, exactly. And that is not to say that I don't need tutorials, but I certainly don't ask every post. We have frequent people requesting tutorials over and over and over again. It's like, no, just go away. Like, okay. So, when I started making chainmail, I made my own rings, right? It's not that complicated. You can make a somewhat decent ring with tools at home. about 8 years into making my own rings, I discovered the Ring Lord. And they made much higher quality rings than me. Right? And so I stopped making my own rings and started ordering from them because they were much better at making rings than I was. Right? But I never asked them for a tutorial on how to make rings. And at this point, like Sarah said, okay, let me go back to my previous story. So, the skill of making rings, the ability to make rings, this is what we're working on, by the way. In case you didn't know what Byzantine looked like, that's Byzantine. It's also called, like, Fool's Dilemma. I forget what the other names for it are. So, I discovered the Ring Lord. I stopped making rings. I start buying from them, right? Now, making rings and making chainmail are two different skill sets. Should you know how to make your own rings to make chainmail? Not necessarily. Does it help? It especially helps with cost, yeah. Okay? But making rings and making chainmail are two different things. And making a project and making a tutorial are two different things. They're two different skill sets. And I don't have the making a tutorial skill set. Not that I couldn't figure it out. I might write a book one day on chainmail, just to add to my repertoire of things that I have done to further the adoption of chainmail as a mainstream hobby into the world, or mainstream craft. All right, we got two. But that's a long way off. It's like I don't want to... My biggest reason for not wanting to write tutorials is because whenever I have tried to teach someone something in the past, doesn't matter what it is, right? They always end up quitting what they're doing. Okay? So over time, I just realized that I am not a good teacher. I don't have the knack for teaching. I don't have a natural inclination to teach. Well, I know what my next hobby is about to be. PokeTrav, how you doing? Yeah, if you want to get started in chainmail, how I've gone about teaching, quote unquote, people how to make chainmail is just pointing them in the right direction and then trying to answer any questions that they have. Okay? If you figure out that you want to make chainmail, if you're introduced to it on, say, I don't know, some random guy streaming on the internet making stuff, and you're like, that's going to be my whole personality now. I can't teach you. I can only say, here are a bunch of resources available to you. Right? Go and explore. And using that technique, I've introduced the craft to several people now. Right? And if you're wondering where all the resources are, if you go to my link tree, they're the second link. It's the MailWorks app. You open it up. You don't have to download anything. And there's a bunch of resources inside there, like suppliers and where to find tutorials, and where to find other chainmail artists, like where they hang out online and whatnot. And then there's a Discord. If you have questions, you can hop in and ask. There's a lot of chainmail artists in there that can answer questions you might have. Any good books or sites? Yeah, just the Mailworks app that has like, it doesn't have every site in regards to chainmail on there, but it has a lot of them. Like everything I wished I would have had access to when I first got started making chainmail is in there, and I'll be adding more as time goes on. Once I catch a break and sit down and work on my computer stuff, and I have time, it'll look a little bit more organized. So, thanks for the follow. Appreciate you. But yeah, that is... it's not me trying to teach anyone anything. It's just me going, look over there for answers to your questions. Right? And then I step back and continue to work on my projects and let people dig in without interference. You know? You're a self-starter, you just needed the resources? Absolutely. If you want a really good resource, and the first link in my link tree is the Chainmail Joe Beginner Kit. And it has a bunch of different ring sizes in bright aluminum, which is just shiny aluminum. And there's a tutorial booklet in there that shows you the steps to take to make... it shows you the different things you can make with those ring sizes. And you can get it with pliers or not. But it's an excellent beginner kit. It's the only one I know of. And if you have, you don't have to buy specialty pliers like what I'm using. It definitely helps in the long run. You can use pliers from your junk drawer. But there are good reasons to get specialty pliers later on. Especially if you want to make and sell stuff. Which, this is a hobby that you can turn around and sell stuff that you've made, right? This is, and you can have either mindset, right? If you want a new hobby, you can start this as a hobby. You don't have to make something and then sell it right away, right? You're a tool guy, you like to get the good supplies. Well, ZeronPlus.com is where I'm getting these. Right? They should be already shipping or shipping soon. They're the latest and greatest of Zeron pliers that have come out. So, all right, what was I saying? I was saying something. Oh, yeah. Okay, so pick up a hobby and enjoy the hobby for a few minutes before you decide whether or not you want to turn it into a business or something. Right? I see so many people, they'll make something, it's the first thing they've ever made. The closures are awful, there's scratches all over the rings, it's not any kind of quality product. They shouldn't be offering to sell it to someone at all, right? They should hone their skills and get a little better. But they put effort into something, and so they want to sell it, right? And they post all the time, how much would you charge for this? And I'm like, nothing. Like, what are you doing? I don't know what's going on here. And I don't say that to them or anything. I just don't answer the question, right? I just let it be. And I'm not the perfect chainmail artist, and not all my stuff is perfect or anything, and I'm not trying to harp on anyone who's trying to make money. But there are a bunch of people that get into chainmail, and they immediately try to turn around and sell what they've made. And it's like, are you even enjoying yourself yet? Have you formed any kind of a base of knowledge that you can work from, beyond this learner piece you started? Now, you can get good enough to make professional pieces in 2 to 3 months, I've seen people do it. And they're just wizards with rings, right? You're going to start down the rabbit hole now? Hey, you're very welcome. It's an art, makes sense. Time in the chair would need to happen before marketing product. Yeah, and it's like, just, you know, make something for yourself. Make something and enjoy it, you know? And I'm not directing this at you. This is just like a general complaint I have about what I see going on. It's like, have fun with it, make yourself something cool, and then, you know, go from there. I've made several shirts. I have 4 shirts technically. One I don't claim. It's in a Foot Locker in my shed. It's not even in my house. But the other 3 shirts I've made are on stands in my basement, and whenever we have people over and we're down here drinking and whatnot, we'll get someone to try on the chainmail shirts and laugh as they struggle to put it on, and then laugh longer when they try to take them off. It's fun. How long did those take to make? Some took 6 months, some took a year, I would say. My motorcycle vest is the one that took the longest. That one took me 3 years. And that's mostly because I lost motivation for that several times over. My cup just gleeked on me. So with my motorcycle vest, I had to, it's a leather vest with chainmail over the top, right? And I had to attach the chainmail to the leather and the braiding of the leather through the vest and through the chainmail was, what do you call it? Just demotivating. I finally got it done. It took forever, but and then the same thing happened with the saddlebags, and it's going to happen again when I do, like, I wrapped the top of my saddlebags in chainmail, and the toolkit project that I want to start is going to take me forever because braiding the leather cord through the leather and chainmail, just, I don't want to do it. An MC vest made of chainmail is badass. It's pretty cool. It's got chain all around it. It's not the safest thing to wear while riding. Can you model? Yeah. Aurora, how are you tonight? I think I'm pretty enough to model. Aw. Oh, do my knees work? All right. We got chainmail vest extenders, right? Chainmail all over the vest. Let me move my chair out of the way here. All right, can you guys see the back? Right? And then it's got chains holding the side together, right? It has pockets. Ooh. You like those? I like those. And then, let's see how close I can get to the camera here. That is all the leather cord that is braided around through the vest and through the chainmail, holding it all together. All the way around on every edge of the vest. Excuse me. That's wild. Very impressive. Thank you. So this was like the 4th piece of clothing that I did. And I like it so much that I'm going to go back and redo one of my shirts to make it more comfortable. So, and this one took about 3 years just to get the chainmail done. Right? I delayed doing all the leather braiding for a long time. And it's when you get to these big projects where it's the same thing over and over and over again that really just... I've had a lot of fun the last 2 nights. Like, I made this little ball bearing capture thing, just using up rings, right? I've made Byzantine 10,000 times, but, you know, working on Byzantine as opposed to, I did this cube and one other bronze and stainless cube that's in the tumbler right now, and these were a grind. This vest was a grind. Shirts are a grind. How long take them? Yeah, 3 years. They do. They take forever. And you can change that up with what ring size you use. For example, one of the coifs that I'm working on is this 16 gauge 5/16 aluminum, right? I'm going to turn it into a coif for my son so he can wear it to the Renaissance Festival if he wants to. I don't know. And like this size wouldn't take very long. 14 gauge 3/8 to make a shirt, it wouldn't take very long. To put that into perspective, I'll just give you the ring size perspective here, right? 16 gauge 5/16, 18 gauge 7/32 in my right hand here. So there's a lot more rings here than in this, right? So depending on your ring size, that'll determine how long a project's going to take. The cube is trippy. This cube took me 6 weeks, roughly. And I'm glad it's done. I need to make some videos with it, and then it's going over by my bar for people to play with while they hang out at my house. I had a rubber band ball that the rubber bands were breaking and it was falling apart, so I was like, all right, it's time to get rid of that. Let's make another fidget toy for all the people who come and visit. The bigger the ring, the more difficult to bend. To an extent, if you have the right pliers, that makes a huge difference. But yes, right, the bigger the wire gauge, the more difficult it is to weave, okay? And that goes for the different materials as well. 12 gauge aluminum, pretty easy to open and close. 12 gauge stainless steel, very hard. Even when you're using the right pliers. May have already said this, but do you make your rings by pre-made? No, all these rings are manufactured by theringlord.com, chain-reaction.ca. These were from a friend to make this cube. And who else have I got rings from? I use joshuadiliberto.com for a lot of rings. So at some point, now that I has job, I will be investing in my own coiling and cutting setup, where I have a lot of different mandrels and a lot of different wire sizes and materials and a system to cut them all with a saw blade. which I was hoping to have by the end of this year, but that's not going to happen. So that's a goal for next year. And that is because my 30-pound chainmail cube that I just finished, that has 42,000 rings in it. And it took me 3 months, right? It cost me, material-wise, about $1,300 for all of that. Now, if I'm going to make 15 sculptures, 10 to 15 sculptures, before I was working, I could not afford to go out and purchase all the rings, right? But now that I have a job, it cuts down on my ability to weave, but it's going to allow me to pay for some tools that I wanted, like a leather punch press that I need to get before I start my chainmail covered toolkit for my motorcycle. Yeah, 42,000 rings. I think that's the biggest project I've done to date. So I still need to get some galvanized pipe to finish up the display for it, but that's coming along. It's like the Finnegan's Wake flag that I did had 30,000 plus, 32 or 33,000 rings in it. And I just bought the spear to hang that from, and I am trying to contact the person who makes these wall hooks to see if a spear will fit in the hook portion. You're a machinist, you've been wanting to design one, you're also a student. If you're down, you'd only have to pay for the raw stock. You mean a saw cutting machine? Well, talk to me. I've got several resources. I know people who saw cut their own rings and the setups they use, and it's like if you want to design one, I can point you in the right direction. So just shoot me a message. But yeah, I'd like to be able to cut my own rings at home, just because I don't want to be paying $1,000 in material costs for every sculpture that I plan on doing. And my goal is to make 15 sculptures and then go to like a metal art gallery and try and get my stuff put on display. That's my goal. Why do I keep doing this? It's slowing me down. It's like I don't have $15,000 to spend on materials to make these sculptures. So, got to cut my own rings for them, and hopefully I'll get to make 15 sculptures. That'll be cool. That'll be a testament in and of itself. Oh. If I can finish 15 large sculptures, that's a ton of work. Was your mechanism starting with aluminum? Yes, aluminum is a good material to learn on. When it comes to aluminum, there are things I will make out of it, right? Like this cube. This cube is fine in aluminum. A coif for my son. He's not going to go fighting in anything. You shouldn't use butted rings to try and enter a Behurt event, or what is the HEMA event, right? You should use riveted steel rings, right? But for costume jewelry, for cubes, for static pieces like inlays, if you want to do anodized aluminum, I think aluminum's great. I don't like to use it for stuff that's going to be worn, right? I make all my jewelry out of stainless steel and silver, basically. I don't have enough money for gold. Maybe one day. One day I'd like to have enough money to make a cube out of gold. That's a dumb idea. Don't do that. So, there's how to put it? There's definitely a difference between opening and closing an aluminum ring versus steel, right? So when you order your first steel rings, that's going to be more difficult, but obviously I'm doing it. It's not anything that's remotely impossible. It's just more difficult, right? What is the difference between machine cut and saw cut? All right, let's see if I can demonstrate this on camera. All right. So, you see that gap right there? That is where a machine pinched those rings together. This is decent. Let me hang on a sec. Let me get a bigger example. Okay, here's one. Okay, focus on the ring. If you look at the ends of the ring, you see that barb on the end there? Where the machine pinch cut this ring? Right? And then with saw cut, okay, these are all saw cut rings. There's no like pinch cut where the closure is. The two ends of the rings are pretty flush up against each other. And it makes for a less visible closure. Okay? Not perfect, but less visible. So I like to use saw cut materials for all of my jewelry. And because I use, like, I don't use a lot of anodized stuff, I can tumble it or just tumble the rings before I work with them to remove any barbs from the saw cutting process and to kind of put a dull edge on any sharp corners. And so the difference is that there's a little bit of material removed, but the closure is better. Saw cut uses like a 0.10 saw to remove material. The machine just forms it and clips it like nail clippers. Yeah. So nothing wrong with either one. But like my vest is all machine cut rings, right? Because saw cut's more expensive. Because you know it's a higher quality ring, right? But for what I needed to do with my vest and what I'm going to be wearing it for, you know, I didn't need that high quality of a ring. So if you're gonna practice, aluminum's a great material to practice with, to learn with, to begin with. And machine cut is fine. There's nothing wrong with it if you're learning. But you know, you want to play with a little bit higher quality ring to make something really nice for a loved one or for yourself or something. I would definitely use socket rings personally. So, and like I said previously, the you don't have to have a fancy pair of pliers to get started, but it helps. The next tool you should buy if you're going to make chainmail long term is a tumbler, right? Don't tumble anything anodized for longer than 10 minutes because you'll take the anodization off. You'll take the exterior color coating off. But all your base metals, or your fine metals, you can tumble silver for forever. You can tumble stainless steel for forever. Right? Don't forget frequent water changes, and, hot water with Blue Dawn is pretty much the simplest way to tumble a piece or tumble rings. If you have a lot of rings that have barbs on them, you can throw in some tumbling media. I like to use ceramic tumbling media to remove those if I have any stubborn rings. Okay, so if you start, you can use any pliers from the junk drawer. You will eventually want to get better pliers. And the next thing after that is a tumbler. I have a Fart. It is a Franklin Arsenal rotary tumbler. And it works very well for everything I need. It's like $110 or something. But you can... I know several people who have done quite well with tumblers from Harbor Freight. So you don't have to spend a ton of money to get started. I think the price point on these Zerons is like $6 more than the regular ones. Like, here's the regular ones. These are blunt-nosed Zeron 483s, right? With the blue handles. And you'll get those... you'll see these all the time. These are either being shipped now or will ship in the next week or so, I want to say. I don't remember the exact shipping date. But I think... the blue handle ones, these are like $18, $19, something like that. And these are like $24, $25. So... it's not out of anyone's... price range, really, for Zerons. Some pliers are very expensive. All right. Oh, what have I done? Forgotten what I was doing again. And the reason, what is my most common ring sizes? Common ring sizes I use are 16 gauge 5/16, 16 gauge 1/4 inch, 18 gauge 3/16, 18 gauge 5/32, 20 gauge 1/8. And then what else? 18 gauge 1/4 inch. Just for some generic ring sizes that, you can make a lot of different stuff with those sizes. But as you learn sizing and get, more familiar with how things are measured, what size you're reading on the screen and what size it is in real life, as you get more experience with that, you can experiment with other ring sizes. But the ones that I've worked with the most over the last 28 years were those ones I just mentioned. 16 gauge 5/16, 16 gauge 1/4 inch, 18 gauge 1/4 inch, 18 gauge 3/16, 18 gauge 5/32, 20 gauge 1/8. And it's all those are my most common ring sizes that I've purchased and worked with, right? But if you go into any of the large chainmail groups, you're going to find all people making stuff from all kinds of different ring sizes. And they make a bunch of really cool stuff. And usually they'll tell you what ring size they've used. Okay. So one of the things that concerns me about attempting this project is I might not have enough blackened stainless rings to do this. These are the remainder of my big cube project. And I'm looking at the size of these. Maybe I should grab a ball bearing real quick to test this out. And better to explain it, or a better way to explain it, I will go grab the other monkey fist I've done. So hang on a sec. And of course, this might not even work at all. So, all right, hold on. All right, so this is what I'm trying to make, right? Obviously, I've already made one. I know how to make it. I used the full Persian weave and brass, bronze, and stainless steel for the chains, right? I made this using up some supplies that I had laying around, which is how these projects get made, okay? And these three rings at their width are basically the width of this glass marble. There's a glass marble inside here. Okay. These three rings down here, or these three chains down here, if I lay them flat and hold them up, you can see the glass marble on either side. So either one of two things needs to happen. We might be able to get away with 3 chains. I might have enough rings for that. I can't. I have to make 6 more of these. And I only have this many rings left. So, maybe, right? It might not work with just that many chains. I might have to add a 4th. If it does work with 3 chains and I don't have enough rings, I will probably order some regular stainless instead of the blackened stainless. And this project might take longer than a night or 2. I'm very quick at this. Well, all these rings are closed. I pre-closed them because I was re-rounding them. So I'm cheating. I spent several hours today. You almost couldn't see the bottom of this tray when I started this morning, right? So I put a lot of work in today. This is the last of the 27,000 blackened stainless rings that I used on my 30-pound cube. And they were all out of round. So I sat here and I adjusted each and every one of them, and that's all that's left. So when I adjusted them, I closed them and threw them in this bin here. So I've got a bunch of rings that are already pre-closed, which took hours. So it's going a lot faster than it otherwise normally would, right? And I consider it a win because that means, despite the fact that I wasn't planning on working on this project tonight, I officially did show prep for a stream, which I would like to always do so that we have a better stream. But I'm going to take credit for it this time anyway, just even though it was accidental. So, but I think if we do 3 strands, for a total of 9 strands, right? That'll get us a monkey fist where you can still see the marble inside. I'm hoping that's what happens. I don't know. What is the pattern of the chain that you're working on? Because you have a necklace in that pattern. It's in stainless steel. This is called Byzantine. It's also called Fool's Dilemma. It's also called something else. I don't know. It's got a couple of different names that I've seen. People will get into arguments over weave names. And it's like, they're all made up, guys. Unless they are like, this weave to make this cube is called Japanese 4-in-1. The 4-in-1 means that 4 rings go through every ring. This weave is called Japanese 12-in-2. There are 12 rings going through 2 rings, right? 12 small rings going through 2 large rings. Okay? And it's based on a historical Japanese weave. This is called European 4-in-1. There are 4 rings going through every ring in a European style, right? It's based off historical chainmail patterns. So, other than that, right, weave names are pretty meaningless. You've been told dragon scale, but Byzantine is definitely the name you've always known it by. Yeah, dragon scale is a whole different animal. That uses 2 ring sizes, and not that you can't use 2 ring sizes with Byzantine, but it looks like scales for what I would say would be the most commonly accepted weave that is known as dragon scale. So, but you can, you know, call it whatever you want. You can, I'm not going to say what I just thought about what you could call it, because I am a mature adult. But yeah, you can call it whatever you want. There's no authority. There's no guild looking over the chainmail community, making sure everyone stays in line, right? It's a decentralized community of people who like to open and close rings together over and over and over again. And they come up with awesome stuff. So, all right. So, what time is it? Ooh, 9:24. If I can get 6 strands, then I can order some regular stainless in its size, and we'll have a color contrast, right? So, for example, like, I'll have 2, instead of bronze, I'll have 2 blackened stainless strands of Byzantine and 1 regular stainless, and we'll just, instead of like not having a stripe down the middle here, right, we'll have it on this one if we can get it to work. Big if, what have I done here? If I can ever figure out what I'm doing and stop making silly little mistakes that take up a ton of time. Come on. So 6 strands, and then we can order new rings. That's all I'm hoping for. I think we can do at least 6. And then we'll have some left over. Come on. Yay, we got 3. All right. Okay, so we've got 3 chains. You can still see the marble on either side, but, you know, hopefully those 3 chains will sit nicely over another layer of Byzantine. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Like, that's a lot of excess, actually. They might not need to be this long, but I won't know until See if can I make this nice and flat? Not really, no. We're experimenting with like sizing right now. All right, we might have a little bit of excess, right? Like, okay, that bottom chain there doesn't take up a lot, and it looks like I have a lot of excess up here, but this bottom chain will go, you know, it'll go on one side and then the other, right? So we have to have enough distance in our chain for that. It's got to go around 3 Byzantine chains and the marble, right? It'll make more sense when we get the next 3 rings done. Excuse me. Deadpool Scan, how you doing, buddy? Are you working? You working hard or hardly working? So, that looks like 3 more chains at least, which is annoying. That of course I would run out of rings, and of course I would have to purchase more and spend more money to finish a random project. But hey, that's what it's all about. Speaking of random projects, I have to finish, right? And ordering more rings and color contrasts. So I've trotted out this 9 feet of full Persian, excuse me, a dozen times. And I haven't worked on it since like wrestling season last school year. Okay. Let's move this to the side. Okay. So I have this bin of rings here, right? It's about half full, okay? And this is what I've made from it so far. And that's like 9 feet of full Persian chain, okay? Maybe more. This is the same weave in a different ring size. So you can see how ring size affects the perspective of a weave, right? You can make it really small and fine, or you can make it a little bigger and chunkier, right? Moving forward, making them dollars, right on, right on. Finally, a day off tomorrow. There you go. Think you figured out your own ring size issue as well? Sweet. Okay, so I want to make a sculpture with this, right? Similar to how I did the giant chainmail cube, I'm going to take this chain and section it off into little like 2.5, 3-inch sections and make rings from the chain, and then I'll weave those rings made from chainmail into another chainmail weave and make a sculpture out of it. The problem is I didn't want to use one color, okay? There is a lot of visual confusion when you're using weaves versus solid. Well, no, there's a lot of visual confusion when you're using 2 different weaves, especially if they're the same color, right? So I got some copper. Look at that, right? I'm not a big fan of base metals, brass, bronze, copper, aluminum, but that's going to look stunning next to that stainless steel, right? That's going to look amazing. Okay? Now, hopefully these rings will make the same weave. I got to test that out. So we'll be using the same weave, and if that doesn't work, I'll just get like a 0 gauge copper wire to do what I need to make this sculpture. But that is a problem you run into. Okay, if you're trying to use multiple weaves in one piece, right, it's going to be visually difficult for people to see what's going on. right? And if you're... a way to combat that is to use a color contrast. And then another way to combat that is to use something solid. Right? Like you've got your weave piece, and then you've got like a larger ring size, a larger gauge to separate things visually. An idea for necklace now, seeing the Persian weave. There you go. Full Persian's great. My necklace is made from full Persian. I used square wire rings for it. And I wear it every day. And I'm looking for a pendant for it. So the rings are... the wire used to make the rings was square. And it gives it a nice... different reflection than what you get with round rings. But can you use the black stainless as a center? Use the black stainless as a center with the regular stainless as a two-tone. I mean, you'd have to experiment with how to integrate your colors, right? I'll give you an example right here. These are black and stainless and regular stainless rings for my vest extenders, and that's how I, all one weave, just, different rings to make it stand out, or different colors to make it stand out. So I've done a lot of, I've played, I don't want to call it experimentation. I've played around with, rings that were different color a lot, and it's something I'm not good at all. And so I have a lot of ways I figured out how not to do it. You want 2 strands twisted like that 9-foot bunch? Yeah, if you did like one black and stainless and one regular stainless, I think that would be fine. I think that would look good. And there's a lot of different ways for full Persian. All right, so just to explain something a little bit. See these 2 rings underneath my finger right here? And then these 2 rings, and then these 2 rings. Well, for each of these 2 rings, there's 2 rings on the side, right? So each unit is 4 rings, okay? Now you could go and do all black rings down the center here, and then on the side, do all stainless along the side. And it would just like go back and forth as to how it's oriented, but you could do a black unit, a stainless unit, a black unit, a stainless unit, right? And then you can also spiral the colors, which is not hard, but it's just hard to explain. You have parts of it that are 2 lines twisted around each other. It's exactly like that. Oh, okay. Does that answer your question? So there's a lot of ways to do it, Just play around until you find a color combo that you like, and then take a step back and look at it from far away. Okay? And if it's not visually confusing what you're looking at, then move forward with it. And that's all the advice I can give when it comes to mixing colors.